This view comes from one of our contributors, Pete Karstens, who has a long-range tracking telescope here at Cape Canaveral, showing us a view of the payload fairing of the Falcon 9 rocket. There's a shot of the nearly full moon rising over the east coast of Florida right now. Beautiful shots from the long-range tracking telescope operated by Pete Karstens, feeding us some live video for tonight's launch. The last hint of sunlight reflecting off of the top of that Falcon 9 rocket. T-minus 9 minutes, 5 seconds. After liftoff this evening, SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket will be heading due east from Cape Canaveral, targeting a subsynchronous transfer orbit.
And Galaxy 34 are the first 2 of 7 satellites that will replace and refresh a large part of Intelsat's North America Galaxy fleet. The Galaxy 33 satellite will offer continuity for North America cable distribution customers, including HBO, Fox Networks, Stars, and Bally Sports. And the Galaxy 34 satellite will become Intelsat's newest protection satellite, which means it's a backup satellite for the constellation. Here's a bit more about the payloads we're flying on today's mission.
Intelsat operates the largest integrated space and ground network in the world, bringing reliable, resilient connectivity to billions globally. But as the foundational architects of communications technology, we're never done finding new ways to bring value to our customers.
Each launch is a critical step to ensure long-term continuity for the services that we deliver. For some customers, it's about reliability of their mission-critical service. For others, it's about getting the runway to grow their business.
And as our customers' needs grow, our network is evolving with them. At the same time that we're developing the first 5G software-defined ecosystem, we're continuing to strengthen our existing fleet.
Galaxy 33 will be used as a primary cable distribution asset, reaching 99.999% of all US cable subscribers. Galaxy 34, on the other hand, will be a protection satellite, which will ensure very high reliability for our cable distribution services. It will also be used to contribute news and sports content on an occasional basis.
These new satellites will be substantially more powerful, continuing to provide the same broad, consistent coverage as the ones they're replacing, while also helping to broaden future capabilities for the organizations we serve.
Those satellites are extremely important because they're going to help vacate the lower end of the C-band spectrum, which will be used by the mobile network operators to expand their 5G networks. Like the saying is, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a lot of people to build a satellite.
The entire Northrop Grumman team is just very proud to manufacture and deliver Galaxy 33 and 34 to Intelsat and support their commitment to their end customers around the globe.
We're very fortunate. We have some of the best people in the industry, and everybody contributed to this big success.
We're about 6 minutes away from liftoff, so let's get to know a little bit more about the rocket on your screen. This is our 2-stage Falcon 9 vehicle. It's about 229 feet tall. That's slightly taller than a 21-story building. Now, the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle is called the first stage, or the booster. Its objective is to accelerate the vehicle through the Earth's atmosphere to space, and then it will separate from the rest of the rocket. Today's booster is flying for its 14th time, having previously supported the GPS-3 Space Vehicle 3 mission, Turksat 5A, Transporter 2, and 10 Starlink missions. Now, above the first stage, we've got the second stage. It has a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine, and that will ignite just after the first stage separates about 2.5 minutes into the flight. The second stage is what will carry the Intelsat Galaxy 33 and 34 satellites to orbit. Now, the satellites are safely enclosed inside the 17-foot diameter payload fairing, which is this large nose cone structure at the top of the second stage. It's made of carbon composites, and the fairing, its job is to protect the satellites as we make our way to orbit. The fairing is jettisoned once we get through the thicker parts of the Earth's atmosphere. That'll happen about 3 minutes into flight. Now, finally, we've got this large truss structure to the left of the vehicle. That's called the Transporter Erector, or the TE. We use it to roll out the rocket to the launch pad and raise it into this vertical launch position. The TE also routes the vehicle's fluids, power, and telemetry from ground systems to the rocket and the satellites until Falcon 9 switches over to internal power and then ultimately clears the pad at T-0. At that point, at liftoff, the Transporter Erector will retract even further to clear the way for Falcon 9's ascent. You heard a call out there on the nets, so we also refer to the Transporter Erector as the strongback. You can see that the clamp arms have opened around the second stage, and we're beginning to slightly pull it away from the rocket as we prepare for liftoff. As we get to T-0, the TE will pull away even further using ground hydraulic systems at the rocket's base. And you can actually see a little bit there at the bottom. There's the launch mount that the TE is connected to. It's a hinge structure, and the ground hydraulic system helps pull that away, clearing the way for Falcon 9's ascent at T-0 just under 3.5 minutes from now. Now, coming up, we'll get two call-outs about a minute apart. First of those will be at about T-3 minutes. That'll be for LOX load, liquid oxygen loading complete on the first stage. And then shortly after, at about T-2 minutes, we'll get a similar call-out on the second stage for liquid oxygen loading complete. You just heard the call-out there for the first stage. So with that, propellants are fully loaded on Falcon 9's first stage. Between the two stages, there's about 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. And you can kind of see the white clouds forming around the vehicle. That's totally normal. We super chill that liquid oxygen, and as we're filling up the tanks, we're venting off a little bit overboard to give us more room to fill in more of the liquid oxygen. As that gas comes into contact with the moist Florida air, it actually causes water vapor to condense and form literal clouds around the vehicle. Looking like a beautiful day at Florida for today's launch attempt. If you're just joining us, that's coming up in about 2 minutes. Next major milestone here will be liquid oxygen loading complete on the second stage, and then followed at T-1 minute. Falcon 9 will transition into startup. Now, what that means is that its internal flight computers call out there for liquid oxygen loading complete on the second stage. So that means that we are fully loaded with propellants. As I was just saying, at T-60, Falcon 9 will switch to startup, which means its flight computers will take over the rest of the launch countdown. And then at about T-2 seconds, we'll ignite those Merlin 1D engines for liftoff. The payloads continue to look healthy. Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket. Weather is 90% go. The range is green. Call out there on the net for gas closeouts with that, and you can see some venting coming from the Transporter Erector. We just clear out the lines ahead of the liftoff. So again, totally normal part of the countdown.
Falcon is in startup.
So with that, the stages have begun pressurizing for flight. Falcon 9's computer is in control of the vehicle.
LD, go for launch.
Launch director polling, they are go for launch. So at about T-minus 40 seconds to go, all systems go, weather looking great, payload's looking healthy. Let's watch.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition, and liftoff of Falcon 9. Go Falcon, go Intelsat Galaxy 33 and 34. Falcon 9 is pitching downrange.
T-plus 40 seconds into flight, Falcon 9 successfully lifting off from Pad 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, carrying Intelsat's Galaxy 33 and 34 satellites to orbit. Now, during ascent, we have begun tilting the engine, that's technically called gimbaling, and we've begun what's called a gravity turn. So we're beginning to move the rocket horizontally. We're still going up, but we're also going horizontally out
Falcon
over
9
the Atlantic.
is supersonic.
Now, at this point, we're just a few seconds away for maximum dynamic pressure, max Q, right after we get supersonic.
Max Q.
With that, we are through the highest point of stresses as we're going up through the Earth's atmosphere. Now, going back to what I was saying about going horizontally, a rocket needs to go about 17,500 miles per hour to get into orbit. So our velocity is going to keep ticking up. You can see that on the left-hand side of your screen to take these satellites to their ultimate orbital destination. Coming up, we've got 3 events in quick succession. First of those will be MECO, that's main engine cutoff. This is where we shut down all 9 of the Merlin 1D engines on the first stage. Following that, we'll have stage separation. The first and second stages will separate. And then we'll have second engine start number 1, SES-1. That's where we'll ignite the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage. So again, 3 events happening back-to-back. MECO, stage separation, SES-1. Those will happen about 20 seconds from now. Great shots from the ground. You can see as the atmosphere is getting less dense, the plume expanding behind the rocket.
MECO. Stage separation confirmed. And vac ignition.
There we go, those 3 events back to back. So with that, the first stage will start making its way back to planet Earth for recovery. Our second stage has a pretty long burn to go. Next major milestone here will be coming up at about T+3.5 minutes. That'll be fairing deployment. Now both of these fairings, oh, that's a great shot. You can see the first stage, I believe, on the right and the second stage on the left. And those periodic bursts you're seeing there from the first stage attitude control system, helping reorient it, get the heat shields down. Let's see if we'll also get to see fairings. Yep,
Fairing
you can see them.
Confirmed.
Left-hand side of your screen, those 2 white blobs coming off of the second stage are fairings. These fairings have flown 5 times each. We will be attempting to retrieve them today and use them on a future mission.
Both stages continue on nominal trajectories.
We're about T plus
Acquisition
4
signal
minutes
Bermuda.
into today's mission. Had a successful liftoff just 4 minutes ago. We're in the first of 2 planned Merlin vacuum burns for satellite deployment. Left-hand side of your screen is Falcon 9's first stage. We've got a view looking down towards the engines. You can see that the grid fins have deployed in preparation for atmospheric re-entry. On the right-hand side of your screen, a great shot of the Merlin vacuum engine glowing brightly with planet Earth in the background and some sunlight behind. The second stage on the right-hand side of your screen is carrying the Intelsat Galaxy 33 and 34 satellites to orbit. Next major milestone is just under 2 minutes from now. That'll be the first stage's entry burn. For that, we'll ignite 3 of the Merlin 1D engines, starting with the center engine, and then 2 of the radial engines. And that's amazing. That's a great view. You can see we just launched at the perfect time here, so we're catching sunlight off of the top of the Earth's atmosphere. It's reflecting off of the plume of the rocket. I love to call this the space jellyfish or the space octopus. But at the altitude that the rocket is at, the sun hasn't quite set yet, so we're just seeing the plume of the sunlight reflecting. Fantastic. Now, as I was saying, entry burn coming up for the first stage, left-hand side of your screen. That burn helps slow down the first stage for recovery as we start hitting the thicker parts of the Earth's atmosphere. And during that entry burn, we're decelerating, firing the Merlin engines, but the plume of the rocket is coming back on the vehicle, and so that ends up leaving that nice soot deposit that we see on the surface of Falcon 9s when we get them back on recovery. You're seeing some white gas bursts on the left-hand side of your screen. That's from the attitude control system. We carry nitrogen gas on the first stage. Since you don't have an atmosphere to push off of in space, we have to produce some thrust to reorient the vehicle, and that comes from those nitrogen gas thrusters. Second stage burn continuing to look nominal.
Stage 1 FTS has saved.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
So again, 3 Merlin 1D engines igniting here, plume coming back on the vehicle, slowing us down. This burn just about 20 seconds long.
Entry burn shutdown.
And successful shutdown of the entry burn. So with that, the first stage is going to do a little bit of reorienting, make sure its heat shield is pointed down, and as we start getting into the thicker parts of the Earth's atmosphere, those grid fins start to become much more effective. And the whole reason for doing this is because we want to reuse this booster. Reusability is the key to lowering the cost of spaceflight. That enables us to make more investments in critical scientific research. And as I mentioned earlier, the first stage that's supporting today's mission is making this burn for the 14th time, having done it for GPS-3 Space Vehicle 3, Turksat 5A, Transporter 2, and 10 Starlink missions.
Stage 2 terminal guidance.
So with that call out for Stage 2 terminal guidance, we're coming up on second engine cutoff, or SECO, number 1.
Stage 1 is transonic.
That call out there indicating that we are passing through the speed of sound as we're getting through the thicker parts of the Earth's atmosphere. Next major milestone for the first stage will be its landing burn. Just a single Merlin engine will ignite, followed by landing leg deploy.
Stage 2 FTS has saved.
And hopefully a soft touchdown.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Landing burn startup.
Engine cutoff.
You just heard the call out there for second engine cutoff on the second stage.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing is confirmed.
Awesome. Successful
Stage 2
landing
nominal orbit insertion.
on our drone ship about
Expected loss of signal, Cape.
600 kilometers off the coast of Florida. You also heard in there was second engine cutoff on our second stage. So just handling them in order here. 146th recovery for an orbital class rocket, including first stage landings for Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. Second stage completed its burn. It's in the nominal orbit, but the mission isn't over just yet. The second stage is going to embark on its first coast phase. Following that coast phase, we are going to light the Merlin vacuum engine for a second time. That'll happen about 26 minutes into the mission. So we're going to see you back here in about 17 minutes. In the meantime, enjoy the space tunes, enjoy this awesome view of Falcon 9 and the space jellyfish.
Expected loss of signal, Bermuda.